And guess what? By the time that they reevaluate their second set of nonsense charges, she'll already be fired. And Blackman will go, yes, I win again. Send in the bull BS reporters to find the real problems in her career.
They did an analysis of the first round of plagiarism allegations that came out in October. And but a new round of allegations came out.
A new round. Okay. Look at that. Right. What a surprising twist. A new round of allegations. Let's see if we can find more inadequate citations.
This is the best content they've made in years. I've watched a lot of TYT with you guys over the years. I've watched too much of it, too much Young Turks. This is some of the best gold content. I swear to God, you guys need to keep this up. I actually want Ana and Cenk's relationship to keep eroding just for the lulz, just for the entertainment, just for the content over here. Wow.
So as I said, Cenk and Ana got in a pretty intense debate on TYT. Over a surprising topic too. Like, I'm honestly shocked that they really disagreed much on this. My theory is that the author of the article in question, Christopher Rufo, I have a feeling that Ana might be a fan of his, or maybe they've chatted before. In fact, I think they have chatted before on his podcast for the Daily Wire. So I feel like, and again, this is just a theory, I feel like the reason why Ana is not very amused by Cenk's, positioning towards this article, this hit piece, is potentially because she actually likes Rufo herself and, respects his work. I don't know why else she would get so triggered by this, honestly.
Yeah, well, let's play it out. We'll chat about it.
Despite fierce calls for her ouster, the Harvard Corporation, along with hundreds of faculty members at the Ivy League school, have decided to stand behind their president, Claudine Gay. Now, even a politically motivated attempt at getting her fired due to allegations of plagiarism didn't seem to work. And we'll give you the details on that in just a moment. But before we do, I think it's important to just refresh our memories in regard to why there are calls for Claudine Gay, the president of Harvard University, to step down. It all really began last week when the House Committee on Education and the Workforce held a hearing with university presidents coming from Harvard, from Penn, and also from MIT. They asked about student protests and about the notion that some of these protesters are engaging in anti-Semitic rhetoric that makes Jewish students at these institutions feel unsafe. And really what got the most attention was an exchange featuring Republican Congresswoman Elise Stefanik, who has never uttered a word against right-wingers who spew, anti-Jewish conspiracy theories like the Great Replacement theory or anything like that. But she did use this hearing as an opportunity to really make a name for herself. And so here's the moment that got a lot of attention featuring Claudine Gay.
And Dr. Gay, at Harvard, does calling for the genocide of Jews violate Harvard's rules of bullying and harassment, yes or no?
It can be, depending on the context.
What's the context?
Targeted as an individual, at an individual.
It's targeted at Jewish students, Jewish individuals. Do you understand your testimony is dehumanizing them? Do you understand that dehumanization is part of anti-Semitism? I will ask you one more time. Does calling for the genocide of Jews violate Harvard's rules of bullying and harassment? Yes or no?
Anti-Semitic rhetoric.
And is it anti-Semitic rhetoric?
Anti-Semitic rhetoric, when it crosses into conduct that amounts to bullying, harassment, intimidation, that is actionable conduct, and we do take action.
So Dr. Gay was trying to
really quickly right there. This is maybe why, I'll never be a president of a university, God knows that, but this is why I'll never be called before Congress for a hearing. Like, that lady didn't even let her finish. One, it also reminds me of the quote from Trial of Chicago 7. You framed that question in the form of a lie. Like, you know what I mean? It's like you're clearly setting her up for failure. I would say I would reject that premise. What instance of anti-Semitism and called for the genocide of Jews are you referring to on the Harvard campus, where in which case we did not take action? And then if she brings up, I would say, well, then I firmly disagree with your definition of that. And no, we will not be enforcing your definition at our campus. You know what I mean? Boom, you just won the argument. Move on. Why do people always fall for these easy bait tactics? You know what I mean? It's like all you have to do is take a second and be like, I reject that framing. Your framing is, and literally, I love the line. You framed that question in the form of a lie, man. Like, you know what I mean? Like, hey, get them. Yeah, your pants are down now. You want to ask me a real question or you want to fucking grandstand, right? And as they're going to point out later on in this episode, this lady has absolutely nothing but wet sand to stand on when it comes to, flirting with the anti-Semitic right.
a world where nuance is increasingly rejected. And so since she didn't clearly say that calling for the genocide of Jews is unacceptable and we will investigate it, she specifically wanted to focus on when that rhetoric crosses over into actual harassment. And look, I would have preferred for her to be a lot clearer. There was a lot of legalese used in the way that these university presidents answered that question, and it did not bode well for them. And that's what led to calls for their resignation. And I want to also be clear that there is no evidence of students chanting about genociding Jewish people. There have been chants featuring them saying things like "from the river to the sea," which is interpreted by some as calling for the destruction of Israel. But I don't think that most students who engage in that rhetoric think that they're calling for the destruction of Israel
also,
or
can we
the
just
elimination
pause it
of
one more
Israel.
time? This is a
They think
problem
that
that I already have with Ana Kasparian, guys. Talking about how there can no longer be a single Jewish state in Palestine, an ethno-state that excludes the Palestinian population and excludes the non-Jewish population, that cannot go on. That is so far and away. That's like saying, you know what it is? When people compare, like calling for the end of Israel and creating a single Palestinian state or an equal state for everyone, that's like akin to when people say, oh, we need to get rid of racism in America, and they call it a white genocide. It is literally the exact same talking point. It's the exact same playbook. Like, imagine if we were like, and they did do that all the time. Go back in American history. They would talk about how it's an effort to take America away from white people and all this kinds of stuff. And it's crazy. Of course, there are people out here, and people are like appalled to hear say that they're like, oh yeah, dude, you cannot have a fucking single Jewish state called Israel. People are protesting that shit 100%. Like, what the fuck do you think they mean? Like, of course they don't want to be persecuted. Of course they don't want to be second-class citizens. You walk into fucking Israel, it's an apartheid state, okay? Like, if you're only talking about the name Israel only, fine. Like, I guess that could stay, but you need to have a single fucking entity. And maybe you'd have to call it like Palace Rail or something like that. Like, let's split the difference. Let's just let's start negotiating on I'm putting forward you know what I'm saying? But it's like, come on, to pretend that it's calling for the genocide of Jews, to say that we don't think that there should be a singular ethno-state. Like, no, of course not. I do not believe in ethno-states. I'm not going to argue for an ethno-state.
They're fighting for the rights of Palestinians who are currently being crushed in the Gaza Strip. So that's the background. Before I get to the latest details of what's occurred in the story, I wanted to give you an opportunity, Cenk, to weigh in.
Yeah, so now that they've launched this weapon of mass distraction, whoever their target is has to be eliminated. So they got the president of Penn to resign. Tremendous pressure from the alumni saying that they're going to pull hundreds of millions of dollars. How dare you? We love cancel culture. We hate free speech. Make sure you cancel anyone who disagrees with Israel, etc. And it worked. They eliminated her. The president of MIT is Jewish, so calling her anti-Semitic hasn't worked as well. That's why you're not seeing her name in the news at all. That's why they're focusing on the presidents of Penn and Harvard, because they're not Jewish. So that's how this hatchet job is executed. And later, when we give you the details of the so-called made-up plagiarism, I hate that we're even using that word because it's nothing but a lie. And so we'll explain that in a second. And I want to explain the phenomenon in a second. But in terms of this first part here, you have to understand Stefanik used to be what was considered a moderate Republican, mainly a corporate Republican, switched over to MAGA when she saw Trump's success and switched a lot of her positions. So she's a standard slimeball politician, doesn't have any core principles.
Yeah, imagine being a Trump supporter and claiming to care about anti-Semitism. That's fucking wild. Given that Trump was just hanging out with like Nick Fuentes, fucking Kanye West, all these people. Yeah, total insanity.
At all. So you can play at her theatrics. Donald Trump had dinner with Nick Fuentes and Kanye West, who were both saying that they were pro-Hitler and that and then the Nazis weren't so bad. Those are quotes they said themselves. And he had dinner with those two Nazis.
There were hearings about that, right?
Hey, no, at least Stefanik, are you gonna do hearings about that? Donald Trump said there were very good people on the Nazi side in Charlottesville when they said the Jews will not replace us. And Donald Trump used a Hitler quote about poisoning the blood of our nation. So, is it right to support a candidate that supports Nazis? Is it right or not? Yes or no answer, at least, Stefanik. Do you support Nazis? Because a guy that you support had dinner with Nazis, said Nazis were very good people, and used Nazi quotes. Yes or no, at least, Stefanik? Yes or no? And that part is actually true. Whereas what she's doing is based on a hypothetical chant that didn't even happen.
Right.
So now one more thing about Stefanik. Right after these theatrics about how she cares so much about preventing genocide or chance of genocide before they even happen. You know that Stefanik then voted for genocide. She's among the people in the House who voted for $14 billion to Israel to continue the genocide of the Palestinian people. That is not hypothetical or theoretical at all. It's happening right now. And she said, please take the taxpayer money and sent it over there so they could do what now today even Joe Biden is calling the indiscriminate killings of Palestinian civilians.
Even Joe Biden, if you could believe it. So with that background, I do want to add one extra layer of context because this is actually a really interesting and nuanced story, because one of the other reasons why these university presidents have become a target of the right wing is because of their implementation of diversity, equity, and inclusion. And that really began to be implemented in these institutions following the 2020 protests that happened in the summer, following George Floyd's murder by Derek Chauvin. And so I give you that context because the climate at these universities became a little more hostile toward free speech. And some professors, some students were punished for engaging in free speech. And so the real question is, okay, well, why were they so quick to act when there was offensive speech directed at other marginalized groups, and they're not, treating individuals who have offensive language toward Jewish students the same way? That's really another part or another layer to this story. Now, with all that said, obviously, huge calls, fierce calls for Claudine Gay to either step down or to be fired. But as I mentioned earlier, the Harvard Corporation stands behind her, and they've decided to put out a statement in support of her. So did hundreds of faculty members who signed onto a petition demanding that she remain in her position. And let's get to some of the other allegations here. Now, the Harvard Crimson, the student newspaper at Harvard, is reporting that the Harvard Corporation and Harvard's highest governing, which is Harvard's highest governing body, expresses confidence in her leadership. They will not remove her. Harvard President Claudine Gay is facing allegations of plagiarism, though. They mentioned that as well. After a report in the Washington Free Beacon on Monday and a Sunday post on Substack claims she plagiarized portions of 4 academic works over 24 years, including her 1997 PhD dissertation at Harvard. Now, this is very complicated, and for those who either believe or don't believe she engaged.
Wouldn't that just be like a fucking problem for Harvard? Like, oh, Harvard doesn't catch that kind of thing. Like, you're a student. Like, and when they talk about plagiarism and this like really abstract stuff, they're talking about like academic writing where you're constantly referencing the work of a dozen other people, and they're going to scrutinize your citations and say that you've cited shit incorrectly, which could potentially be true or not. But at the end of the day, when you're a PhD student, you're still a fucking student. You're supposed to have somebody that guides you through that academic work before they award you with your fucking doctorate. Do you guys like, you know what I mean?
Plagiarism. I honestly think it's mixed. There are some areas where I do think that there is a case that can be made that she plagiarized, but there's a lot of nitpicking going on by people who very clearly are engaging in a political attack against her. And I think it's important to look at this with a sober eye. Now, members of the Harvard Corporation actually addressed the plagiarism claims today by reaffirming their support for Claudine Gay. The Harvard Corporation wrote that the university became aware in late October of allegations regarding 3 articles. So apparently there were some claims that she had plagiarized earlier, prior to this whole drama unfolding.
What are you talking about prior to this
President
whole
Gay's request?
Excuse me. Prior to this whole drama unfolding, you mean they started doing dirt digging right after 10/7 to make sure that they could have all of these fucking that's called Oppo research. Yeah, that's exactly what. So you can't even come out and pretend before all this happened. If you would have told me like in January this was starting to come out, I would have been a little bit more willing to give you an open ear, an open mind. I would have told you I don't give a fuck. Let Harvard deal with it. But clearly, guys, it's politically motivated. Like, at least acknowledge that. You could say that, well, I don't care if it's politically motivated. I want nobody that's ever improperly cited anything to be the president of Harvard. How dare she? It's like, all right, fine. That's fine. But I don't think it was a hill anybody was going to die on before this happened. And that's what we're pointing out here.
The fellows promptly initiated an independent review by distinguished political scientists and conducted a review of her published work. On December 9th, the fellows reviewed the results, which revealed a few instances of inadequate citation.
Ooh.
While the analysis found no violation of Harvard's standards for research misconduct, President Gay is proactively requesting 4 corrections in 2 articles to insert citations and quotation marks that were omitted from the original publication. So that is a direct statement from the Harvard Corporation. Now, they did not specify which articles were found to contain improperly cited material, which they're now going to correct, I guess. But the allegations were further publicized, and this is where the political component comes in. They were further politicized by right-wing anti-woke activist Christopher Rufo. Now, in a post on X on Sunday night, he made it abundantly clear that him drawing attention to the plagiarism claims is politically motivated. I'm going to read you exactly what he wrote. Real Chris Brunette, that's the reporter that he worked with, and I sat on the Claudine Gay plagiarism materials for the past week, waiting for the precise moment of maximum impact. The Harvard board is meeting tonight, and there are rumors that the plagiarism scandal could be the final nail in Gay's coffin.
There is no scandal.
So hold on. Pause. So that was on December 10th. That's when he posted it. Obviously, the update to the story is it appears that Harvard is standing behind.
Hold on, I'll have Gavin go back and you guys can finish that in a second. But they basically just gave the whole game away. We waited for the moment of maximum impact. This could be the final nail in her coffin. That's exactly what I told you guys. That's exactly what I told you guys, okay?
Plagiarism that they think are more problematic. But the claim was amplified by Bill A. Ackman, an 88 who graduated from 88. He's a hedge fund CEO who has been a vocal critic of Gay and has called for her resignation. Ackman posted on X that he sent the allegations to a senior member of the Harvard faculty who found them to be credible. He did not identify a specific faculty member by name.
Can we pause it one more time?
The Free Beacon article mentions 4 specific works from Claudine Gay that they believe give examples of her engaging in plagiarism. A 1993 essay in Origins, a shared publication between the Ohio State University and Miami University, her 1997 PhD dissertation from her time as a graduate student at Harvard. That particular example, I think, is kind of funny because they claim that she lifted quotes or work from the very person who was her dissertation advisor.
Yeah, it's nonsense, 100% garbage. But I'm okay. Keep going.
And also 2 papers that she wrote while she was a professor at Harvard.
Again, yeah. So it would have been her fucking teacher's job to correct that for her, right? Obviously, you're not going to plagiarize your own fucking teacher and then submit it to them and hope that, like, you know what I'm saying, guys? Like, if you're a PhD student, you're paying the school a fuckload of money and you're working for them pretty much round the clock as like a GTA for basically no money. Maybe if you're lucky enough to cover your living expenses while you're fucking drowning in student loans later in your life. You know what I mean? Like, it's a tough grind to be in graduate school, especially if you're getting your PhD. That's why almost nobody fucking finishes. But you're still supposed to be a student. You're still supposed to be being taught. So the fact that this is even up as a way to like ding her feels kind of weird to me, strange and flimsy. And it just shows how weak the fucking, receipts really are.
2012 and in 2017. So the Crimson, according to their reporting, independently reviewed the published allegations, though some are minor, consisting of passages that are similar or identical to Gay's sources, lacking quotation marks, but including citations. Others are more substantial, including some paragraphs and sentences nearly identical to other work and lacking citations. Some appear to violate Harvard's current policies around plagiarism and academic integrity. So I'm gonna give you one example, but I also wanna note that it's unclear what Harvard's code of conduct on plagiarism was at the time that she put this work out. So here's her.
Okay, before you do that, let me just explain. After she's done with this, these are all hatchet jobs.
It is a hatchet job.
Horse crap.
It's all.
I'm going to explain why this is all garbage. A burning pile of total garbage. Go ahead.
Okay, but let me also say this. Okay, it's clearly politically motivated. Okay, the hatchet job is clear to me as well. But if there are specific, hold on, Cenk, listen to me for a second. If there are substantial examples of her engaging in plagiarism.
I'll go. I was just making a passing joke that she's about to die on the same hill as JR Jr.
Yeah, this is getting pretty good.
Clear to me as well. But if there are specific, hold on, Cenk, listen to me for a second. If there are substantial examples of her engaging in plagiarism, it is a problem if she's the president of a university.
Yeah, I'll explain later. Just get through the BS first.
Okay, no, you go ahead, Cenk. Go ahead and get it.
It's garbage. It's garbage. Okay,
go ahead.
So guys, here's what happens. Okay,
I don't get why Anna's so pissed off. Like sometimes I'll be, in the middle of like reading an article or talking, and Zac clearly is getting excited, wants to make a point, interrupts me or breaks in. Who fucking cares, right? Like if he did this in every segment, I guess I would understand, like, all right, at some point, stop stepping on my fucking toes, let me do my job here. But clearly he's excited, clearly he wants to make a point, and a fucking good point too. His anger is righteous. He's 100% on point here. This is one time where I absolutely agree with Cenk, and she's just like so committed to, reading all the details about this plagiarism scandal, which they've already spent the first 13 or 14 minutes of the video doing. Like they've done a pretty good job of outlining the allegations. I don't really know what other context she feels desperately needs to be added, but I just don't get this.
Yeah, it's weird. This is definitely not how you want your dynamic with your co-host to be, unless it's like your shtick. Like if your shtick is to be like extremely antagonistic towards each other, then that would be one thing. And if that and I could see how that would actually be a decent model for a show. Like if you put like Vosh and Destiny in a room together and you just made them debate like whatever the audience asked them for a while, and they would be so rude and so caustic to each other, but they would also be like willing to sit down and continue to do it. Like you could have a recipe for a winning show. That's not ever the model that the Young Turks have adopted. They've always kind of been like, you know, like kind of on the same page, that like mild pushback, but giving each other like the benefit of the doubt. When they start snapping at each other, it's usually the sign that something's gone wrong. Like Gavin and I, we disagree with each other all the time, but like rarely in our podcast history have we ever like changed our voice. Almost never do you have to be like, fuck, dude, like shut up. You know, it almost never. Like usually only when we're on a debate with a bunch of people do you have to be like, everybody like, let me fucking talk. You know what I mean? And that's understandable because everybody's fighting for, you know, turf and ground and whatnot. But no, this is bad chemistry. This is the wall starting to break. You know, the damn giving in.
Once someone sticks their neck out and challenges the powerful, they then dig into their lives and they go, okay, we got to find some transgression so we can invent a scandal. And they'll get some hack like Rufo and some rando at a rando place like Washington Free Beacon and a Substack account, okay, whatever the hell that is, okay? And they'll say, okay, oh, this is just serious charges. And they'll repeat words like plagiarism 2,400 times. And all the headlines will say plagiarism, plagiarism. And then when you look into it, what did Harvard conclude? 4 inadequate citations. Jaywalking is a significantly higher crime, okay? That when the best you got is 4 inadequate citations, basically you're saying we dug and dug and dug to try to bury her and find one thing wrong in her life, but we couldn't do it. We couldn't do it. So we got something where she left out quote marks, but put the citation in. We got a thing where she joined with another author. We got a thing where she quoted her own advisor. Sometimes in cases like this, because whenever they go after academics, their #1 hatchet job is plagiarism. Why plagiarism? Because it sounds so bad, right? And the average person doesn't understand plagiarism at all. And so they go, inadequate citations. And it makes it sound like, wow. It's nonsense, total. So sometimes on plagiarism charges, they'll say, when you look into the details, she quoted herself but didn't cite it. Oh, come on, guys, come on. So this is what I call needle in a haystack. So are they?
100%. And also, I do want to give Gavin his laurels. See, this is what I was talking about. We have a good dynamic. Gavin doesn't scream at me and break character when I constantly interrupt him. See, Gavin, you've got a lot of defenders in the chat being like, you deal with this so much better than Cenk does. It's true.
Trying to represent the totality of her career, the haystack, or are they trying to find a needle in that haystack, pull it out and go, look at this needle, that's what she's about, that one time that she got a citation wrong, fire her. And who's Bill Ackman? Bill Ackman is one of the worst people in the country. He's a hedge fund manager who bribes, campaign contributions to politicians, buys them off left and right, gives a ton of money to his alma mater. And when he heard this, he's like, well, no criticism of Israel ever, fire her. I mean, I'm worried about an inadequate citation from 1987. So I'm really concerned about her academic situation. Guys, when they find something this minor, that means, oh my God, she was squeaky clean. Oh, she led an immaculate life. I challenge any of you to go through this kind of process and have them come up with only 4 inadequate citations. That means you're pretty much an angel. So this is nothing but a hatchet job. It has zero.
Telling on himself a little bit.
So Cenk, the reason why I get frustrated with you is because you're itching to engage in your rant so desperately that you don't even give me an opportunity to lay out all the facts before you engage in your rant, in which I'm gonna show that shows that it's more than just the lack of citations 4 separate times.
Yeah, I'm not gonna engage in their hatchet jobs.
Look, listen.
No, that has no validity.
Okay, all right, fine, it has no validity. If your take is—
Sorry, my internet like blipped out for a sec. Did we miss any of the video?
No, it's playing. Your camera's fucked though.
Okay, sorry.
No, you're fine.
The lack of citations 4 separate times.
Yeah, I'm not gonna engage in their hatchet jobs.
Look, listen.
No, that has no validity.
Okay, all right, fine, it has no validity. If your take is I don't care if she engaged in any plagiarism because this is politically motivated, then just say it. But my point is, even though I believe it is politically motivated that they're going after her, if there are substantial examples of her engaging in plagiarism at a university where students get expelled when they engage in plagiarism, it's a problem.
But they already did the analysis, Anna. So now we're gonna do a double analysis on some jackass substacker who's obviously doing it for political reasons. And guess what? By the time that they reevaluate their second set of nonsense charges, she'll already be fired. And Blackman will go, yes, I win again. Send in the bull BS reporters to find the real problems in her career.
They did an analysis of the first round of plagiarism allegations that came out in October. But a new round of allegations came out.
A new round.
Okay.
Look at that. Right. What a surprising twist. A new round of allegations. Let's see if we can find more inadequate citations.
This is the best content they've made in years. I've watched a lot of TYT with you guys over the years. I've watched too much of it, too much Young Turks. This is some of the best gold content. I swear to God, you guys need to keep this up. I actually want Anna and Cenk's relationship to keep eroding just for the lulz, just for the entertainment, just for the content over here. Wow. Yes, Zac and Gavin after Zac says the new Godzilla isn't that good. Oh yeah, or just somebody in the chat tell Gavin he's funnier than me and watch me melt down in real time. No, I'm
Yeah, dude. So I actually agree with you though. This is by far the most entertaining content they've put forth in a while. And I would be happy to see them double down on this sort of dynamic. Like, I mean, yeah, it bums me out to see Ana Kasparian just become super cringe. Of course, that goes without saying, but at least it does provide a bit of oppositional talking point for Cenk.
Breaking point.
Yeah, exactly. If they disagree, it actually ends up being a much more interesting conversation. If they're just sitting there saying, yeah, that's totally right. That's 100% correct, bro. Like, yeah, that's not quite as interesting as what we're watching right now. Although again, I just don't get why Anna's so fucking pissed about this. It's crazy.
Yeah. JR Jr. just got perma-banned, guys. I'm sorry to tell you all. I'm sorry to break. He knew, it was suicide by moderator. Okay.
Round. Look at that. Right. What a surprising twist. A new round of allegations. Let's see if we can find more inadequate citations. I don't care.
Just finish. Okay, then you don't care.
I don't care. I don't care. I don't care if you
about that.
No.
Be honest about the fact that you don't care.
I don't care.
Okay.
I don't care.
That's fine.
If you found out, no, I don't care. Let me explain.
Okay.
If you found out that she committed a robbery in 1997, went into somebody's house,
just give it the old whack, bam. Just for good measure. Just be the alpha male. Just fucking bang your fist on the table. Like, anyway.
I like how she's pretending as if this is not the main attraction of TYT. Also, like watching Cenk rant and, get super enthusiastic and passionate about things, like as if people watching would rather hear her read off Christopher Rufo's Substack article than see this righteous anger from her co-host, which, like I said, is clearly the whole point of the show. Like, that's the main attraction, is watching Cenk be passionate and deliver his fiery opinions in a way that's like this. And she's like, wow, you won't even let me say the facts. You're so into your feelings.
Let me explain.
Okay.
If you found out that she committed a robbery in 1997, went into somebody's house, broke the door down, and stole their radio, I still wouldn't care, because you're trying to eliminate her because she said something you don't like. Don't go back into the past, find the tiniest little transgressions, and then we're gonna have a debate over this poor woman's life and over her career. No, I'm not gonna engage with bad faith actors who have shown 1,000 times over that they're full of crap and they're looking to destroy people's lives. So no, let me be very clear. I have no interest in a debate about plagiarism from 20, 30 years ago. So-called. When the first round of plagiarism came out with no plagiarism, none. They were lying, and they're always lying.
Where's it? Where are these stump speeches?
Oh, should we look
Straight
into
on
whether
the
she
mic.
jaywalked?
I haven't seen this at the campaign rallies. Where are you, Cenk? Why are you wasting what people like about you by not at all integrating that? That's why I don't think this presidential campaign is real. I think that he's actually already given up on it. That's why the half-ass merch. He wants to be like, sorry, we just didn't generate any money. I bet you they sold about as many shirts as the Vanguard. Four shirts with that presidential. So I'm just like, I think that he knows it's over because he's not even busting out his best material. Like if he was on the mic calling out Joe Biden like this in front of a crowd, people would come over and watch. And if he was like, and you know what, we're not getting it from Donald Trump either, so I don't want to hear about it. And I don't want to hear about the craziness from guys like RFK Jr. You know what, I got the vaccine and I don't have any fucking lizard parts growing out of me. You know what I mean? Like give the people what they want, Cenk.
Who is lying? Oh, should we look into whether she jaywalked? I bet she did. Let's have a debate whether she jaywalked or not. I bet she crossed several streets without getting proper permission. She might have even once had a party past 10 p.m. Might have violated a noise ordinance. Let's engage in, is she guilty of the noise ordinance? I might be guilty of a noise ordinance now. No, hatchet jobs, no interest. You're right, Anna. Even if they found it and they're like, this one doesn't have any citation at all. Oh.
All right,
okay.
I'm done. We're wrapping this story up. We're taking a break. We'll come back and hopefully we'll calm down a little bit so we can actually do our jobs appropriately.
The job appropriately is this story has zero validity. Right. And do not fire that.
President
says,
I think
no, I'm gonna run Harvard. No one's allowed to disagree with my political opinions. Okay, if that's what Harvard is, which apparently that's what Penn is, I'm humiliated that I went to Penn. They fired her over that. Because the donors didn't want her to be honest and tell what the actual policy of the school was on a hypothetical chance that didn't even happen. And those same donors, by the way, very, very likely donating to the politicians who voted for genocide of the Palestinian people because their lives don't matter. But we're discussing citations as 8,000 people have been butchered in Gaza. That's a weapon of mass distraction.
All right, it's more than citations. I'm sorry that I couldn't give you guys the information. But please read
go to Substack. I'm sure they have.
Cenk was spitting better than I've almost ever heard him in my life. And what's crazy is that just one day ago, perhaps it was the same day this was recorded, he's tweeting like, we need to stop saying from the river to the sea. I'm like, no, we don't, bro. No, we don't. But if you remove that from this clip right here, this dude, 10 out of 10, no notes. It was perfect form, perfect passer rating from Cenk.
Yep. I just want to play these last few seconds because Anna does throw in a diss here at the end. I'm not sure if the audience heard that.
I'm sorry that I couldn't give you guys the information, but please read.
But go to Substack. I'm sure they have a lot.
Read the Harvard Crimson, please, so you'll understand where the real allegations lie.
Thanks for watching.
Yeah, so I love how she's like pearl clutching at Cenk for like not doing his journalistic duties properly or whatever. Again, as if
the Young Turks.
Right, and as if the whole fucking point of the show hasn't been watching Cenk get passionate and rant. I mean, that is the whole appeal of the Young Turks. Like, people do not watch TYT for the same reason that they watch like Democracy Now! Or something. Like, obviously, if Amy Goodman just started like huffing and puffing and throwing a fit in the middle of a story, like that would be a little bit weird. That's not really their style over at Democracy Now! But to scold Cenk Uygur for getting passionate and being loud, are you kidding me? That's the whole appeal. That is literally the main attraction of your show. Like, yeah, people enjoy the dynamic between the both of them, but let's be honest, it's Cenk. That's why people watch. They want to see Cenk get emotional, get passionate. He's a charismatic commentator, right? So for her to sit there and try to like kneecap his passion, it's just so weird, especially given the fact that he's 100% right. I just don't get it. If he was like on some bullshit, if he was talking about why he's going to vote for Rick Caruso or something, then yeah, I would understand Anna being like, yeah, sit the fuck down and shut the fuck up and let me explain why you're wrong. But in this case, she's like, you're not letting me read every word of this stupid hatchet job. And yeah, it's wild.
Daily Wire Substack, like not even, this is from the Washington Examiner and the Harvard Crimson. Okay, yeah, whatever, lady. You're gonna cite a college paper now to try and make your point. I mean, like, you know what I mean? It's a little bit ridiculous.